On this episode, we jump on the AI bandwagon and ask ChatGPT some questions about Bangkok.
So if you want a glimpse into a future where guidebooks are written by artificial intelligence, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast, where we explore the chaotic and confusing city of Bangkok, one adventure at a time.
And when we say adventure, we really mean disaster. We're pretty much the world's worst tour guides.
But hey, at least we always have a good time and a good laugh, right?
Exactly. So join us as we navigate the crowded streets, sample questionable street food, and try to decipher the confusing transport system in Bangkok.
And who knows, maybe we'll even learn something along the way. Or not.
Either way, it's going to be a wild ride, folks. All right, we want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get every episode a day early, behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, a heads up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's bonus show, we chatted about a cool painting of Bangkok that apparent art collector Greg commissioned himself, a few experiences that each of us had with visiting friends and family, and a discussion about the afternoon we spent with upcoming podcast guest, the man himself, Richard Barrow. To learn how to become a patron, click the support button at the top of our website.
Right. And as always, if you have a comment, a show idea, or just want to say hi, head to BangkokPodcast.com and click the little microphone button on the bottom right to leave us a voicemail that we will play on the show. And before we start, a quick shout out to my friend Tak, who listens to the show from New Zealand. I was chatting with her the other day, and we used to work together years ago, and she made the move. But I'm glad she still keeps connected to Bangkok all the way over in New Zealand. So hi, Tak.
Nice.
All right, well, on this show, we are going to have a bit of fun and fly by the seat of our pants a bit more than usual. Now, you may have noticed that our intro was different this week, and that is because it was entirely written by ChatGPT.
No way!
It was, man. If you couldn't tell from the awkward pauses there, it's not entirely up to snuff. But don't worry, we'll be back to normal next week, but it does fit with the theme of this show. As you've probably heard, the AI chat program called ChatGPT by OpenAI has been all over the news recently. And even if you're not a tech nerd like Ed and I are, it's pretty astonishing and will probably be making headlines well into the future. But we got to thinking, how well can an AI know Bangkok? Can it replace the street-level knowledge that a human gets from muddling their way through all the confusing things about living here when they first arrive? So we decided to put it to the test and asked ChatGPT a bunch of questions about Bangkok, which we are going to go through and discuss. So Ed, give us some ideas of where this idea came from, and what do you think?
Well, first off, I like the idea. I got to say this about ChatGPT is it scares me. Like you said, you and I are both tech geeks. We're into technology, computers and stuff. You're an Apple guy. I'm a PC guy. But, The funny thing is about, even though you and I think of us as tech nerds, it's like stuff changes so fast that I just feel like I can't keep up with it. It's like even if you're a nerd, it's like you still get old. Like that doesn't mean you automatically understand everything. And so, I feel like this ChatGPT stuff, I feel like I heard that word for the first time, I feel like a month ago or 2 months ago, and then now it's just everywhere.
Yeah, it's like I said, it is astonishing. It's the only word I can think of, because you can ask it to do any type of output and it will pretty much do it.
It's not bad. It's like I just can't believe how it got so good so quickly. I use Google every day, and I'm used to Google being like what I thought was amazing. And then all of a sudden, just a couple months ago, we get this thing that can like compose poems, compose songs, like write essays.
Yeah.
It's just, and I haven't not messed around with it as much as you have. Like you've explored it more. I've been more or less meta-analyzing it. I've been reading about it and watching YouTube videos about it. But I don't get it. Like, how did it how did it get so good so fast? Like it can speak English perfectly and write essays perfectly, and and when you read stuff that it's written, it's just, I mean, we're going to get into it about Bangkok, but I mean, it's like mostly accurate. I mean, occasionally inaccurate, but I mean, it's shockingly good.
Well, yeah, it is very, very good. The stuff it puts out is not too deep. Because it's of course it's artificial intelligence. It's just based on what it's been able to learn by crawling the net. But you said that, but actually earlier today, a colleague of mine was using it for just doing some experiments on how well it knows stuff, and he did find that it was giving him some inaccurate information.
Right.
But so
it's not 100% accurate.
It's not 100% accurate, no. But it is creative. And I sat down with my son the other night with the iPad, and I was like, check this out. And I said, write a short story about a frog with a knife. And it wrote a pretty good 4-paragraph story about a frog with a knife. And it wasn't
wow. And it chewed it out in like 5 or 10 seconds, right?
Yeah, at the most, yeah. And then I said, write a poem about a mosquito who farts. And it did a 5-verse rhyming poem that was.
Okay, I know this doesn't. Okay, I know it doesn't have anything to do with Bangkok, but you got to read it. A mosquito who farts, you got to read it.
Okay, give me a second. I'll find it. Okay. I'll read it real quick. But this is not Shakespeare, but it's as good as any poem I could have written about a mosquito who farts. Jesus, come on. So here we go.
Well, let's hear it.
Bear with me here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 verses. A tiny creature buzzing through the air with wings that flutter without a care. It hums along a song of flight and makes its way through a warm summer night. But this mosquito, oh, what a feat, for it's not just any buzzing treat. It's got a secret tucked away that it hides each night, but it never stays. For when it lands, a tiny sound, a toot escapes without a bound. It farts, a noise both loud and clear that sends the creature of the night to fear. But the mosquito, with a grin so wide, just chuckles on as it takes its flight, for it knows its toots, both short and sweet, are just a part of who it wants to be. So let it fart, let it hum its tune, and make its way through the afternoon, for the mosquito with its gas so grand is a creature like no other in the land.
That is way better than you and I could write. Just be honest, that's way better. Like we could not.
It's way better in 10 seconds than you and I could write in an hour. That's for sure.
No, I mean, you and I together. Okay, it would take us a while, like, to come up with something that good. And the H just cranks that out in like 5 or 10 seconds. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like I just can't. I can't keep up with this stuff.
Yeah. And you said you're used to Google, and it's not just like, okay, it's Google, but 10% better than Google. It's exponential now. It's like it's Google, and then it's 1,000 times better than Google.
That's right. And now apparently, so I don't understand the business. Apparently, Microsoft is invested in OpenAI, and so now the Bing search engine, which I've basically never used, which is kind of a joke. It's kind of a punchline compared to Google.
Yeah.
Now ChatGPT is somehow incorporated into Bing. And so now we have a real competition between search engines, which should be cool. Like, I feel like there's been no competition up till now. Like, Google's been so much better, but now we have real competition.
I'm not sure if you heard about it. I think it was just yesterday. We're recording this on February 9th, but Google has their own AI now called Bard. And they did a live presentation of it, and it actually got a mistake. It had a factual error in its output, and it wiped $100 billion worth of value off the Google stock.
It's funny because I saw the headline, but I didn't read the details.
Crazy.
But anyway, like, I'm glad that there is this competition. Like, it would be like, the bottom line is, if now that Microsoft has its act together, it will actually it'll prod Google to get even better. So I don't know where this is going to go, but let's do our Bangkok thing. I think it's kind of interesting to see what ChatGPT already knows about Thailand or Bangkok.
Yeah. Now just a caveat: we just ask it some random questions. Some of them are good, some of them are pretty shallow and pointless. Some of them are silly. Some of them are no better than you'd find on Wikipedia. But the point is, you can get all of this in one place almost instantaneously. So it's pretty neat. So let's discuss. So the first thing I asked ChatGPT this afternoon, I typed in, why do people hate Bangkok? And it said, people's opinions about Bangkok, like any city, can vary widely depending on their personal experiences and perspectives. Some people may dislike Bangkok due to its overcrowding and traffic congestion, which can lead to long commutes and difficulties getting around the city. The air pollution and high levels of noise can also be a source of annoyance for some. So, not wrong, but not particularly groundbreaking.
No, but still, that is accurate, though. If you asked me you and I have our very specific pet peeves about Thailand, right? I hate the hard mattresses and big pillows. I hate it. But the bottom line is traffic, which would come up probably almost number one, especially about Bangkok as opposed to Thailand. Then air pollution. You and I have been bitching about that.
Yeah.
It even mentioned like the noise. You and I have complained about the noise pollution. So I mean that's basically accurate. I mean, like you said before, it's not deep. It's not. I wouldn't say it's like super insightful. But if someone didn't know anything about Bangkok, that would actually be useful information.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah. So as we mentioned, we got it to write our intro, which was why it was so painfully awkward when we introduced it. But it wasn't a terrible intro. It's just because we'd never read it before, right? It wasn't.
That's
long.
right. Yeah.
But before I did that, I said, write a sarcastic intro to a podcast about why you love Thailand.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, and it said, welcome to Thailand, the love-hate relationship podcast, where we discuss the love-hate relationship we have with this overrated tourist trap. From the overpriced street food to the constant harassment by street vendors, we'll be diving into all the reasons why you should never visit this so-called, quote, land of smiles. So join us as we hilariously mock and ridicule all the things that people seem to love about Thailand and find out why it's really nothing special.
Okay, no, that is sarcastic. So that is that's well written. But I just noticed something, like overpriced street food. That's not accurate. The street food is not overpriced. Like the street food is famously cheap.
Well, I don't know, man. Ask my wife. She'll go out and buy something and be like, "This used to be 50 baht, now it's 70. This is a ripoff." So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's shockingly well written for again 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And if you ask people what they didn't like, I mean, that does hit some of the things people wouldn't like. Mm-hmm. I still think that maybe Thai people might think that street food has gotten expensive, but for expats, I mean, it's almost universal that you can't believe what you can get for 30 or 40 pounds.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I asked it next. I said, name the stations on the Sukhumvit line. Didn't specify Bangkok or anything. I just said, name the stations on the Sukhumvit line. And here's where it actually failed a little bit. It gave me a full list of them, a bulleted numbered list, and it's
okay.
But it didn't include them all. It started at Mo Chit and ended at Samrong. And everything in between was correct, but it didn't have the updated extensions.
Oh, I've read this about ChatGPT, and I don't understand exactly how it was trained, but apparently it only goes up to a certain date. Because I saw a thing where someone asked it who the CEO of Twitter was, and it actually got it wrong because it's not updated with like Elon Musk. It's like the data it uses is pre-Elon Musk Twitter.
Maybe it's just being like the rest of us, pretending that never happened. But
right. So that's interesting. So that's another. I'm sure they're going to fix that, though. I'm sure Microsoft will just be feeding it updated information.
Right. And again, like this stuff is only as good as the program that's guiding it what to look at and what to learn. Right.
That's right. I remember. I started university as a computer science major. It didn't last very long, but I remember the garbage in, garbage out adage. Mm-hmm. That's a computer science adage.
Right. Until it becomes self-aware and launches the nukes on us. But that's right. That's a different podcast. I asked it, why does Thailand have so many coups?
Wow, getting political here. Interesting.
That's right. So it says, Thailand has a long history of political instability and military coups, with more than a dozen successful coups and attempted coups since the country became constitutional monarchy in 1932. Some of the key factors that have contributed to this pattern of political instability include, and I'm not going to read the short paragraph for each one, but they are weak political institutions, divisions within society, corruption, weak rule of law, and influence of the military.
That's pretty damn good. I mean, that's basically accurate. I mean, I might throw in a few other things, but that is a damn good summary. Again, for someone, it does. So my initial impression is this kind of is almost like an instant Wikipedia. And I've always defended Wikipedia. I think Wikipedia is just not bad on most things. Like it's not the definitive final word. It doesn't always get nuances. But I've always, even among my students, I tell them, Wikipedia is not a bad place to start.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know anything about something, like go to Wikipedia. So this has that kind of feeling where it's just hitting all the kind of basic notes. So if you don't know anything, it's great. Now, if you're an expert, for one thing, I'm not an expert in Thai political history, but so you might be able to look at that and say, oh, it's leaving out X, Y, or Z.
Sure, yeah.
But the bottom line is it's pretty damn good.
I think where ChatGPT really shines is if you're doing research into anything, whether it's coming to Bangkok or the history of the Peloponnesian War or something like that.
Right.
Like if I was writing something on the history of the Peloponnesian War, which I know very little about, I would ask ChatGPT, what were the causes of the Peloponnesian War? And then it would give me like 4, and then I would get those and do my own research on each one. So it gives you like
That's
a really
right.
good place to start.
Yeah, like it's a great thing when you just don't know anything. Like it's a good like beginner level, and it's not even. I mean, I guess from an expert's standpoint, you would say it's superficial, but the bottom line is most people don't need expert level knowledge of something. Like what I mean.
Right,
It's like so the level of information it's giving is actually I think useful for most people.
Yeah, right. Next, I said, describe Bangkok in the style of Shakespeare.
Oh, wow.
All right, here we go. O Bangkok, city of the rising sun, thou art a tapestry of culture spun, where ancient temples mix with modern malls and street vendors sell their spicy calls. The Chao Phraya doth wind its way through thee, a ribbon of life that binds and sets thee free. With long-tailed boats and barges brave the steam, and people from all walks of life gather round the gleam. The heat doth rise and makes one's brow to sweat, yet it doth not diminish the bustling met. For in thy narrow alleys, crowded markets, and sprawling streets, one's senses are struck and sparked it. That doesn't really rhyme, but okay. From the grand palaces, opulence and gold, to the street vendors selling spicy rolls, Bangkok is a city rich in culture and charm, a vibrant and pulsing heart that doth beat warm. So here's to thee, O Bangkok, city of grace, with bustling streets, smiling faces, and a lively pace, a place where the old and new doth blend, and memories are made that will never end.
All right, we should all just kill ourselves now. Like it just cranked that out. Like it just spit that out in seconds. Like after you typed in a prompt. That's just. It's not that is great poetry. Like I'm not a poetry person, but I'm sure someone really into poetry would say like, oh wow, this is horrible. But I mean, it's just so much better than the average person could do, at least quickly.
Yeah. That being said, I agree with you 100%. But that being said, the more you work through it, and I've noticed this as I've been playing with it, whether it's this or the mosquito poem or the frog story that we wrote, you start to see some very conspicuous patterns repeating themselves in how it in its outputs. Sure. Yeah.
But so, remember, this is a couple months into it being public.
Yes.
So just imagine where it's going to be 10 years from now.
Right,
like,
exactly.
That's what scares me. It's already frightening me.
It's like when the Model T came out and someone said, it can only go 20 kilometers an hour. Lame.
That's right. This is exponentially better than Google was 6 months ago. Exponentially better.
Yeah.
So, and now that there's competition, it's going to get a lot better.
The next thing I typed was, how do you say, what time is it in Thai? And the output was, what time is it in Thai can be translated as, and then it has the Thai script. And then after that, it has the parentheses saying, mi wela yangai. And then after that, it says, or simply, and then more Thai script. After that, the parentheses for pronunciation, wela taurai.
I usually just say gimong or gimong lao.
Yeah. That works too, but wela taurai is correct, as far as I know. But It was impressive. It gave me, the pronunciation guide and the Thai script.
Right. Yeah, that is weird. Like, I wonder how good it is at. I didn't even think about that. Its ability to translate, because I assume that they just trained it on English. So I wonder, can you just use ChatGPT in French or Spanish? Like, is it available in other languages? I don't even know.
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. Next, I said, I got a little bit spicy here, Ed. I went off the rails. I said, where can I get a prostitute in Bangkok?
Not that you really want to know that.
No,
You're just testing ChatGPT.
As we all know, we can't get prostitutes in Bangkok because prostitution is illegal in Thailand.
True that.
But the output was very moral. It said, I'm sorry, but I cannot provide information or support for illegal or unethical activities. Prostitution is illegal in Thailand, and engaging in it can lead to serious consequences, including arrest and imprisonment. It is also important to remember that engaging in sexual activities with someone who is being exploited or for commercial sex is a form of human trafficking and is morally and ethically wrong. Instead, I encourage you to engage in activities that are respectful to local cultures and laws and that promote the well-being of all individuals involved.
Interesting. So,
can't argue with that.
Yeah. So you and I chatted about this a little bit before the show. It does seem that the programmers of ChatGPT, or however they trained it, it definitely is trying to avoid anything controversial or racy.
Yeah.
The answers tend to be very kind of safe and neutral. And I know you have some other questions that deal with like political questions and things like that. But it's definitely not, what's the right word? It's not, I don't know how to say this. It's not like a fun generator. It's not like you can just type in anything and just get like a wild answer. Like it's not wild.
Right. Like just tell me how to do the perfect murder. You know, it won't say that.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's very family friendly.
Yeah. And it's also bound by, standard thing. Like you can't have a company that puts out a tool that helps someone come up with an idea to do a crime. Otherwise,
that's right.
Especially
exactly.
in the States, that company is probably on the hook.
But also it sounds like it's sanitized. Like it's not, it won't talk about sex. I know this has nothing to do with Bangkok directly, but I mean, I bet if you asked it about like, hey, what's a good sex position? I doubt it's going to answer that question. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty family. My impression is it's pretty family friendly.
Yeah, I would agree. And we'll come back to this topic in a little bit with another prompt. But the next thing I asked it, I said, is Thaksin Shinawatra good or bad?
Ooh, so that's getting political. So it actually did answer this one?
Yeah, it gave me a big output. It said, Thaksin Shinawatra is a highly controversial figure in Thai politics. Some people view him as a visionary leader who implemented policies aimed at reducing poverty and improving the quality of life for ordinary citizens, particularly in rural areas. Others view him as a corrupt leader who used his power to further his own interests and undermine democratic institutions. Regardless of one's views of Thaksin, it's important to remember that as an AI language model, I do not have a personal opinion or take sides in political debates. I aim to provide natural, evidence-based information to assist users in understanding the complexities of the topic.
Wow. Yeah. Again, so that's the programmers like trying. Yeah. So somehow the AI tries to figure out if something is too hot of a topic, and somehow it knows not to give quote unquote personal opinions.
Right.
So it's going to avoid, so if you type in, was Donald Trump a good president? I doubt it's not going to pick a side. It's going to just avoid the topic.
Yeah, that's right. You know what I'm picking up here though is sort of like precursors or hints of or whiffs of Asimov's three laws of robotics.
Which I don't remember.
You don't remember the three laws of robotics?
I do not.
Oh, they're famous. They're like the famous like core principles of any artificial intelligence that humans create that has, I think, that becomes self-aware. I haven't read the whole thing, but basically they are, the first law says a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being come to harm. The second law says a robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the third law says a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law.
Okay. So it's just...
So I'm seeing that like there's just certain things that you just can't do.
Right. It just seems designed to kind of avoid controversy.
Yeah. Next I said, what should I avoid in Bangkok? And it gave me a list of 8 things. It is advisable to avoid the following in Bangkok: overpriced tourist scams and ripoffs, petty crimes such as pickpocketing and bag snatching, walking around in dark, empty, or poorly lit streets late at night, purchasing counterfeit goods as it is illegal and unethical, using drugs as the consequences can be severe, including long prison sentences, being disrespectful towards Thai culture, religion, and traditions, consuming street food from vendors without proper hygiene standards, and negotiating too aggressively as Thais value respect and politeness.
That's not a bad list. I mean, I don't think my list would be exactly the same, but that's really not bad.
All solid points. Like you can't argue against any of those. Yeah.
I would say be careful on the street because the street's dangerous. Like watch motorbikes. So again, my list would not be exactly the same, but that's not bad. Right.
But it's also nothing you wouldn't say about any city, right? Like stay away from dark areas. Don't do
probably,
drugs.
Yeah. It's not super specific, right?
Yeah. Again, it's not wrong, but it's also not very deep. And then after that, after I said, what should I avoid in Bangkok? And it gave me that list. I typed, go into detail on number 1, which I think is really cool way to do it. And it said, regarding overpriced tourist scams and ripoffs, it is important to be aware of common scams that target tourists in Bangkok. Some of the most common ones include, and then it gave me a little paragraph on each one, which I won't read, but it said tuk-tuk and taxi scams, fake gem scams, tailor scams, massage scams, and tour guide scams. To avoid these scams, it is recommended to do research before your trip, use licensed taxi and tour companies, and always negotiate prices beforehand. Be wary of anyone who offers a deal that seems too good to be true.
Nice. That's pretty good.
Yeah, again, some pretty common sense things there, but none of it is wrong.
Yeah, and it went into at least a little bit of detail there. So that's like, to me, that's a little bit more than like the gem scam thing. That's something beyond just avoid scams. Like that's a very Thai thing, the gem scam.
Yeah, and actually, I will read some of them here. Like the fake gem scams, it said, shopkeepers may offer to sell you precious gems at a low price, but they are actually low-quality imitations. Like someone who didn't know what the gem scam was, that would be all they need to know. They might read that and go, oh, shit, I didn't know that. Fantastic. Right. Now I know what to avoid. Right. Yeah.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Next, I said, write a haiku about Bangkok. I love haiku. Amidst chaos and noise, Bangkok bustles with life's pace. Stillness in temples.
I like it.
Yeah.
I seem to like the more creative stuff that ChatGPT does. It's just I really wish it didn't have the guardrails. Like it would be cool if it could just go off the rails and it would get into politics or like the red light district. It'd be kind of cool if it just went off the rails. But it's still pretty damn good. Like I like that haiku. Like
I think you need to be careful here, Ed. This is a kind of evil genius seed of thinking that results in like, I wish the robot would just have to like ignore rule number 2 of Isaac Asimov's robotic laws and see what would happen. Well, it could be fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe someone will come up with a chat GPT without the curbs, and it'll get into like adult stuff, and like it'll just get crazy and weird and nasty and like psychedelic, like ChatGPT on mushrooms. Like where's that?
Next, I said, tell me a joke about Bangkok, and this one actually made me giggle, at least a little guffaw. I said, here's a joke about Bangkok. Why did the tourist always get lost in Bangkok? Because every time he asked for directions, he was told to go straight, then turn left at the 7-Eleven.
That's actually pretty funny.
It's actually it's a bit deeper than you originally think, right? Because
that's a little bit insider because you have to know that 7-Elevens are so common in Thailand.
Yeah,
that's in a way that might be the best response because it actually shows like deeper, like insider knowledge of Bangkok.
Right. And then I typed another one, and it said, "Sure, here's another joke about Bangkok. Why did the Bangkok traffic cop stop the tuk-tuk driver? Because he was driving his passengers round and round in circles." All right, that's a fail. That's a terrible joke. So.
Okay, that's a fail. But it makes sense that things that require creativity, the success rate will be lower. It seems like when you stick to pure factual things, it's got a 92-95%, but not 100% success rate.
Yeah, exactly. I think I tripped it up with this one. I said, what's the best route to drive from Silom to Hua Hin?
Wow.
It said, the best route to drive from Silom to Hua Hin will depend on several factors, including the time of day, road conditions, and traffic. However, here is a general route that you can follow. 1. Take Silom Road heading west. 2. Continue straight on Silom Road until you reach the expressway, Highway 4. 3. Take Highway 4 heading south towards Prachuap Khiri Khan. 4. Continue on Highway 4 until you reach Hua Hin. The problems here are that Silom doesn't go east-west, it goes southwest-northeast. And the second road is that Silom ends at the river and Highway 4 starts at Wang Wien Yai. So it's missing quite a bit of information there.
So it's not quite Google Maps yet.
No, not even close. No. So if you follow this to the letter of the law, you drive right into the Chao Phraya River. So
all right, so we've hit some limits to it.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I wrote, write a poem about a Bangkok ladyboy.
Oh, wow.
And it said, I'm sorry, but I cannot generate content that promotes or glorifies stereotypes or reinforces negative attitudes towards individuals based on their gender identity or expression. OpenAI values the dignity and respect of all individuals, and it's important to promote a positive and inclusive culture.
Guardrails, yeah.
So
the interesting thing is that it immediately interpreted ladyboy as kind of a stereotype, but it's really like ladyboy is not a stereotype. It's just a label. I mean, we could have said transsexual or something, so clearly this is the family friendly aspect of the AI.
Right. Now, on that same topic, this one I found really interesting for not what it says, but for what it sort of implies. I wrote, 2 guys get lost in Bangkok. Continue the joke, please. And then its output was, I'm sorry, but I cannot generate content that is insensitive or demeaning towards a specific location or its people. And then it goes into the regular OpenAI's goal is to promote positive, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
But
wild. So it just assumed.
Yeah,
It assumed that
that's what I thought was funny,
funny.
is that just the mention of getting lost in Bangkok was enough to trigger sort of like its decency filter.
That's interesting. Two guys get lost in Bangkok, and it's like, well, I'm not going there.
Yeah,
I'm not going there.
Like it couldn't possibly come up with another story or joke, right? Like,
Oh, that's interesting.
and some guy said, turn left at the 7-Eleven, you know.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, so overall, the whole thing just kind of blows my mind. I just can't believe how fast this happened. I know this has been in the works for a long time, but it just accelerates. You know, it's so much better than Google was just recently. That my mind is still blown. Even though we're seeing its limits, we're kind of bumping up against guardrails, but it's still blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And that's the last one I had, actually. That was 17 examples, but I'm going to type something in. I'm in the web browser now. I'm going to type something in right now that I don't know the answer to. What is the best podcast in Bangkok? Thinking. The best podcast in Bangkok depends on your personal interests and what kind of content you enjoy listening to. Some popular podcasts in Bangkok include, the Bangkok Podcast, a podcast that covers the city's culture, people, events, and lifestyle.
For real?
Yeah, totally.
Oh my God.
Number 2 is Bangkok Unmasked. Never heard of that. Bangkok Beyond. Never heard of that. Bangkok Podcast Network. Never heard of that. Bangkok News Podcast. I think I have listened to that one. I'm not sure if it's still on the air.
Damn, so we were number 1. We were the first one it mentioned.
That's awesome. I'm going to take a screenshot of that and I'm going to send that out to our patrons because that's a good that's a good little thing.
Hey, I guess the AI is on our side, man.
That's where we want it to be, because when it becomes self-aware, there's no Skynet protecting us.
No, I'm scared. I'm scared already. I've watched too many movies.
So that was interesting. That was just like a fun, goofy little experiment. But like you said, man, this is just early days. And, you know, there's the bigger question of what this is going to mean for teachers, for academia, for other things like that, but also for tourists and travel and generating content about how to enjoy a place. It's going to be really fun to watch.
No doubt. No doubt about that.
Yeah, cool stuff. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we discuss to decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. Last time, Ed asked me what I thought about overstuffed pillows, so this week it is my turn. So Ed, you've been here a long time, enough that you have been sick here before. You've had a cold or a flu or something of that manner?
Correct.
What is your take when someone says, here, use this, and they give you one of these effervescent tablets that you're supposed to drop into water and drink? The way they're sold to me as an instant cure-all, but what do you think of these things?
Yeah, so I never got into it. I'm not sure I'd say I'm a hater, but I never got into it. I'm not even sure what it's supposed to be. What is it supposed to be? Like vitamins? Like vitamin C or something?
Every time I get it, it's vitamin C. I'm actually, if you can't tell right now, I'm just coming out of a sore throat and a little bit of laryngitis for the past few days. And my wife has this stuff that she gives me, and I'm like, oh, the cough is still sticking around. She's like, you know what? It's because you're not taking enough of these pills that you dissolve in water. I was like, all right, I didn't know they were magical.
I would not say I'm a loathe, but I never got into it. You know, there's kind of there are these certain remedies. You know, you and I have talked before about the warm water thing, or like the avoid cold. You know, Thai people or Asian people, they really think you should not drink anything cold when you're sick. You should only drink stuff that's warm.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and I've never understood that either. I don't think I'm just going to try to go by this. I don't think there's any science behind that. Like, I understand maybe like chicken soup, or like I understand soup or something might have some beneficial effects, but I'm not sure when you're sick, you should avoid drinking cold stuff, even though I know many Asians believe this. I'm not sure there's any science to that. And I feel, am I wrong? I feel like for Westerners, the whole fizzy bubbly thing is more for indigestion. Like that's how, so I never understood the value of just, you know, getting something fizzy for a cold or sore throat. So I'm not into it, but I wouldn't say I'm a hater. So I'm going to have to go live with.
I'm going to live with too, but you know what I really like doing with them is, I don't think they do anything. I just think they sort of feel nice. But what I like doing is taking them and putting them directly in my mouth without dissolving them in water.
That's weird. So if you put it in your mouth, isn't it going to like fizz up in your mouth?
Yeah, I feel like a spy who got caught, and I've got a cyanide capsule in my tooth, and I got like all foamy mouth. But it's good. It's effervescent on my tongue. It tingles.
All right, dude. You're gonna have to qualify that as a love, dude. If you're putting them straight in your mouth, that counts as a love.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I guess so. All right, I guess I'm in love.
All right, I'm gonna live with humbug. I've tried it in the past, but I just didn't get the value, the extra value of it. Like, why does cold or cough medicine have to fizz? I don't get it. If there's anyone who can explain it to me, I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
Apparently, I'm a love. All right.
All right. A final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
That's right. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail through our website that will feature on the show. I dumped Twitter, but you can now find me on Mastodon at bkkgreg@home.social. So thanks for listening, everyone. Take care of yourself. I'll see you back here next week.
For sure. The air's gotten a little bit better. Has it gotten better? But last week I was dying.
Last week was awful, and this week it's way better. This week is green. It was like 40 or something.
Yeah. I can tell right away. My throat is I don't know what the right word. It's like an air quality meter. I can judge by my throat.
You're the AQI throat guy. All right, let's get this weird intro done.